City are still alive here. Balotelli, Aguero! Special beyond special.
Best player in the Premier League.
Captain Marvel. Drogba! Rudy! Oh, wonderful! That is one Derby diamond.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's match day.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Clash of Clubs. This is episode 17. I'm Dylan alongside Mila and Grant as always.
Oh, no.
And
Bro, we're like
What?
like late 20s, bro.
I said 17. Did I really?
Yeah.
I totally meant 27. I literally looked at my notes and went 27, dyslexic, 17. That's fucking crazy. Okay.
Leave it in.
All right, well, we're plus 10 to episode 17. So this is episode 27. We have a special guest, a very giddy one, as you can tell.
Tough guys.
Facundo, welcome back to the pod. That's some fucking start, dude. All right, I'll just jump into the agenda so we can get this thing rolling since I already fucked it up.
That's great.
Man City got humbled by Arsenal. They don't really know what humble means, but they humbled Arsenal, or Arsenal humbled them. We'll talk about what that means for the title race going forward. Then we'll talk about United because they go 2 steps forward, 1 step back, like I have with this intro. We'll then talk about Chelsea and how they blocked Potter's spell in his return to Stamford Bridge. Come on, son. Got to get one cringe one in there. And then we'll end with some transfer roundup since the winter transfer window is closed. You guys can take it away. Arsenal 5, City 1.
Facundo, definitely go first.
Yeah,
I'm sure
and
you
we
watched the whole
watched it.
game. I didn't even watch the whole game.
Honestly, the first, coming out of the gate, super intense high press, force John Stones into kind of a weird pass into a Kanji. Leo gets a touch, Declan plays it in a Kai, and I thought Kai made the right decision to get it into Odegaard, which I thought was a massive moment for him because he needed a goal. But up early, 1-0. Then we kind of just settled into our mid-block for the rest of that half. I thought City actually played pretty okay in that first half. Towards the end of that first half, I thought they were going to get one. We couldn't get out. We weren't really crisp with our passing. We weren't really connecting anything. So first half, I thought City played pretty well. Second half, first 10 minutes, it was a lot of the same of the first half. Then obviously Haaland gets the equalizer. And I started to get concerned because I was like, why are we playing like this? This shouldn't be happening. And then we get the equalizer, we go up 2-1 with Thomas Partey's goal. And then we didn't look back after that. I guess after Haaland kind of scored, we kind of decided that we're not going to continue to do this and we're going to take the game to them. And I just think the full 90 minutes, the intensity that takes, I just don't think City's midfield really has enough for that. And yeah, that was just kind of the story of the game. They just kind of died towards the end.
I've never seen you guys keep your foot on the gas like that. That was something new that I haven't seen from this group in a little while. It kind of reminded me of what they played like a few years ago. Do you want to kind of go into that a little more? Are there any reasons for that? Was it because of the occasion?
I wonder if it was part of the
there?
game plan, just to kind of see what the first half looks like and then see what we can do in the second half. I think we were on a stretch last year after the new year where we were beating teams 4, 5, 6-0. And that's kind of the last time that I've seen us do something like this. And seeing it against City was a bit weird, but I was kind of glad to see it. I think Lewis Skelly and that kind of personality that he has, I don't know if it's contagious or anything, but I just think I was happy to see it. Finally, 5 open play goals, so I don't have to hear the set piece stuff anymore. And I think we're at our best when everyone gets involved. This is why I've always said, don't get me wrong, I'd love to have Isak. I think that should be our number one target going into the summer. But when we're at our best, it's when we're sharing goals and everybody's involved. I don't know. I thought the midfield 3 had a phenomenal game. Declan, I mean, thank God we got that guy. Martin leading the press. Obviously, Havertz missed that one open chance in the first half to make it 2-0, but then scores a great goal to make it 4-1. Yeah, but
That
you
was the
see
crazy
it.
part. That was
I don't know. I go back and forth because
SMU.
obviously, like, I get a little bit frustrated when he misses some chances too. But like, you can see it in moments where like he really does like have that confidence. It's just not over the course of 90 minutes. Like he knew exactly what he was going to do. I'm going to cut back to my left foot and put it in the far corner, and that's what he did. I don't know. I'm just so used to getting beat 4-1, 5-1 by City that this was just kind of like, what is going on? But hopefully it's I don't know if it'll lead us to a title, but I think that this gives us the energy to kick on for the rest of the year and gives us that slight belief that like, hey, we're only 6 points behind. This was kind of our biggest test up until now. So let's see what we do. But I think it's going to be good for us going forward. Glad that we were kind of able to, like you said, put our foots on their throat and kind of just go and kill them. Like once we went up 3-1, I was still, once we went up 3-1, I was still slightly
You guys haven't
nervous.
been
I was
killing
like, we
teams.
needed one more.
Yeah.
And then once we scored the fourth, I was like, get another. Like, just keep scoring.
When it was Havertz putting it away in that fashion, you know what I mean? That is really what I felt was like so significant about it. It was really the nail in the coffin,
Yeah.
and they even went on and did more. But this definitely changes the way I've been talking about Arsenal, whereas if they have no chance, like that is the way I saw them based on performance. This is a huge game. Like you'd have to be an idiot to say otherwise. I think going from here, it's about building on top of it and seeing really what they do with this game, with the momentum. Champions League's done for a little bit, so ideally they can really put a run together and build off this. That's when I'll change my tune, is if they build off this game.
Yeah, I mean, the schedule's
it's a
pretty
really good
favorable the
building block
next
to
4
work with.
matches. I think we have one of the relegation teams. Then we have West Ham United. I mean, yeah, we have Newcastle in the Carabao Cup.
Newcastle,
They haven't
right?
been playing well. We've been playing pretty decent. So,
Oh, it's a cup game. Okay.
yeah, I mean, it's at St.
bogey
James's
team.
Park, but Bournemouth going there and winning 5-0 and then them losing to Fulham at home, I think gives me a little bit of confidence. And regardless of how we've played against them, I still think that we can get a result there. But yeah, it's about continuing to do what we've been doing. The ball went in the net. That was really the difference that we haven't had a lot this year. We've created chances. It's just we haven't put the ball in the net. I think the young guys, considering, and I've been on this, I knew we were not going to get anyone this window. The January window is literally an impossible window unless you're a City or a Chelsea. So these young guys have kind of been like our signings, which honestly, that Lewis Skelly goal was probably the biggest moment in the match. Like I know how you're describing the Havertz goal. It's kind of the dagger,
Very
but
impressive
that
goal.
one was the one that I think we probably weren't going to look back from, even though I was kind of nervous. But yeah, just see what we continue to do moving forward.
That's bullshit that he played. He should have been suspended.
No, I think the game died after, like you guys scored right after we scored. The fact that like it looked like we were going to score for a bit. We did score, and then there's a chance that there's a game left in there, and you guys scored immediately
didn't
after.
have a shot
it
after
just
that.
completely deflates them. And then another thing, but the midfield setup was just horrendous. I know we talked about it in the last couple episodes. I thought Pep was going to set up how he did in Chelsea. Just give us a little more protection in the midfield with the three along the line. But I don't think he can do that one with Stones and Akanji in the back. So that was a decision to play Akanji one. Two, I don't know. With playing an Arsenal, and you're gonna have just a Bernardo and a Kova as the midfield, and you're gonna have Foden do a little bit of a job to come in there. I don't see the point. I think we just needed to pack in the midfield with those guys and not try to outdo your midfield, because it's not going to happen this season. They're too old. I think that was just the main point of the game for me. The defense looked a little timid. I told Grant and Dylan, timid and just bad overall. Nunes is not a defender at the end of the day. When we could play these shit teams, or he can have a good game. And sorry, that's not what I meant.
Well, we were fucking terrible against you guys.
But like he can show out occasionally, but at the end of the day, he's not a Man City fullback. Like he's not that level, so we can't be relying on him in a game against Arsenal to do that. And someone like Akanji, who looks like the next guy out in the defense now, which is crazy because he looks
was
like
really
one of our
good for
more
a little
consistent
bit.
guys
So,
the past couple of years.
I know you guys are
this
really
year,
bad in transition,
it's just
and
completely
I
gone.
mean your back line's kind of thin right now. But do you think the setup in front of them, not only just the midfield, but like usually you guys press us pretty well. I thought the pressing structure you guys had for us. I think Phil Foden was trying to man mark Lewis Skelly, and he just got lost a lot. Like, do you think that all, like, what's the more contributing? Like, the defense is just that bad, or the guys in front of them aren't doing enough to protect them when it gets to them?
It's a little bit of both. I think it's that midfield setup in front of the defense. It's the midfield setup is poor in front of a poor defense, and that's why we're at the point where we're at. Because one or the other, I think we could probably get away with, and the performances would not be. The results wouldn't be as shocking. The performances might still be terrible, but results-wise, we probably could have gotten a couple of those by. In this type of game, if we had a more solid midfield and just a crappy defense, you guys still could win that game, but it might not have been a 5-1 thrashing.
Yeah, Kanji's drop off. I think it goes a lot to your point. You were really adamant on like the big leadership thing and having a leader in the back. And
Diaz,
Akanji,
bro.
I think Akanji's just
It's
the
all
epitome.
Diaz.
He's the epitome of a B-side center back. Like with a guy like Ruben Diaz next to him, like a rock, Akanji's going to be solid. He's going to be reliable because he knows he has that guy next to him. I think having Stones, who has no minutes under his legs, like that timidness. I think timid was the right word to use. Like they just didn't. They saw a defender. People were running at them. They just didn't want to get stuck into a challenge and just backing off. And yeah,
timidness
the defense
a little bit is fine, but if you're gonna see the way Arsenal scored some of the goals, long shots outside the box, I need someone to just fucking get their body in front of the ball. And I know for a fact that Diaz would have done that. Unfortunately, he's not available. Kusanov would have done that. I know for a fact he's only played one fucking game for us, and I know for a fact he would have blocked at least attempted to block.
Akanji imitating him too was crazy. Like the fact that you conceded almost a carbon copy of the goal against us, I could not believe it. And
part of that was Akanji's fault, but you're not going to blame him for
it was
a young
tough.
center back's mistake like that.
That
you
happens.
know?
But to just give a goal away like as soon as the game starts again is just it's nuts. And I think you get away with that against a team like Chelsea, who's not there yet, versus a team like Arsenal, who's been competing at that level for this is the third year running now. You're not going to get away with it. I think that just shows the levels in the league right now. Unfortunately, we're a very young team that makes a lot of mistakes. You can get away with a mistake like that. We'll give it back. They understand how big that fixture is. They're not giving you that back. I think that really,
I feel like
it's a small margin.
Set up in front because the second goal is straight up like Phil Foden just giving the ball away. The third goal,
yeah, that was a blunder from Foden, complete blunder.
After going back and watching it, you have, I think I want to say it's Nunez, Marmouche, like, and two other, Bernardo, and then another attacking player defending that entire left-hand side. And to me, that just can't happen because those guys naturally just don't know what to do. The Nwaneri one, he's just kind of like the overlap is coming from Timber. They have no idea what to do, and then they don't step to him. I don't know. Sometimes I think it's kind of hard for your center backs to kind of cover for all of the mistakes from your midfield and everybody else. And then you're pressing. Someone said this, and I thought that this was pretty accurate. You guys don't press to win the ball back. You guys almost press just to keep the ball as far away from your goal as possible.
I don't hate that.
At the moment,
that logic.
I don't.
It might just be because of how slow those two are. I mean, Kovacic and Silva is just not a midfield pairing that can work.
Why, if we fucking did something against Chelsea that worked in mitigating that fucking issue, why did we go away from that?
Try it again.
To fucking what?
Or utilize
more attacking towards Arsenal because they have a little more defensive prowess in their squad. Like that doesn't make sense.
I don't know. this game for
Yeah,
60
yeah,
minutes
yeah.
to me was not the way that I feel like we're painting it.
No, but that's
Like,
the thing.
it-
When you
it
have that
worked.
two in the midfield, those two tired legs, it only takes 60 minutes of hard-nosed fucking tackling and running from a team like Arsenal to tire them out, and then the rest of the game is fucking cake.
I just need to know what the youth did to Pep. Because, I mean, if you guys, I know we're going to do transfer talk later, but we tried to come in for Nico O'Reilly, who hasn't had a sniff all year. Mila, you've been crying for it for months to at least give the kid a chance. They wouldn't let him go without a buyback option. They
Well,
wouldn't
we
let
just
him
don't
go
want to get
without
bit in
any of
the
that.
ass like the
For
last
sure,
couple
which is
guys.
fair. I totally understand the precaution behind it, but if you value that asset so much and you're having such horrific midfield problems, you've been talking about it for months, but like again, it's reinforced one more time. You couldn't have used his legs even as a sub because, like Dylan just said, for 60 minutes it was a competitive game, and then Arsenal ran away with it. You would think maybe
I do
a young
understand.
midfielder has some more. Like it's just what it.
I
You gotta
constantly
try
go back
something.
and forth to like they need the chance to show something, but also if it is a tight game, like you're saying, and you throw in a guy with no experience that you haven't played all season, and he makes a mistake, like you're fucking, you're hampering his development in
No,
that
for
sense.
sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you just did
So
it to Kusanov though.
yeah, it's a super fragile position, I think, for the squad makeup,
Totally.
and until we get to summer or just a couple weeks from now, maybe when these new guys start to
Acclimate.
adapt to the squad, acclimate exactly. Then we might see something different. But right now, I don't think it was kind of the same old, but Arsenal definitely earned the win for me, like 100%. We were just nowhere near the level though. I don't necessarily think Arsenal were like phenomenal on the day, but they did enough to fucking slap us around like that. That also just shows where we're at as a club right now.
Yeah.
That's not the first time we got slapped up like that this season.
No, this was a statement win from Arsenal for getting that monkey off their back, so to speak. That's where I kind of took from this was just a mental win. It was mental warfare that they won because you guys went behind the 8 ball, you clawed back in. Haaland scores the goal after Gabriel's in his face, and then Foden makes a mistake, and that was the game.
I thought
The game was over when Foden made the mistake.
He got lucky that a lot of the narrative
That was
afterwards
it.
was around Haaland and the defense because I thought Foden played probably one of his worst games that he's played all year.
Yeah, it was from what I saw, he didn't play good. From what I've heard from everyone else that saw the whole game, from a City's perspective, he was not good. He had a terrible game. So
it was 3 errors, right? So Stone's terrible pass, Akanji didn't do anything with it, and then Foden's mistake, and then Arsenal ran away with it. And the game wouldn't have been that way if, honestly, I don't think the game would have been like that if Foden just doesn't make that mistake. It was like kind of a where these two sides are at right now, right? Like City are rebuilding, while Arsenal haven't made the signings. They're just a more complete team at this current state in time. Like that midfield three, which I'm surprised we haven't seen more of Partey, Rice, and Odegaard I think that's the only way for Arsenal to continue to win
because
games.
Partey
Like
is very
you
hit
got to
and
put
miss.
those three
When
out.
he plays like he played against City, he's one of the best midfielders in the league. But right, we know. But when he plays like he did against Villa,
Yeah,
where he
Bro, he
forgets
was
to mark
insane
someone,
recently.
those are the moments that are frustrating. I do wonder as the squad starts to get healthier if you could see Lewis Skelly play that left-sided 8 and Declan in the 6, because I do think that the kid's capable of playing there. Yeah, he is. He's naturally a
He came up
6
as a midfielder,
slash
right?
like 8
and then
hybrid.
what you're putting.
But Mikel's been playing him. I'll give Mikel a lot of credit.
Yeah,
I
he
know
got,
people
like,
give
10
him a
of
lot
them.
of crap for the fact that he doesn't bring on the young guys and he doesn't play the young guys. I think the way that he's handled Nwaneri and Lewis Skelly has been phenomenal. These kids don't even look like they're 17, 18 years old. Yeah, but I think we
They look
talked about
apart.
it, like you talked about it earlier. I think Pep expected Mikel to play how he played that first half. For some weird reason, I think Mikel does it to kind of like get under Pep's skin because Pep wants teams to play the way he does, and Mikel just, I don't know what it is. But honestly, I'll take it, right? Because nobody else plays City like this. I don't think, at least one of the bigger teams. Am I wrong there?
well,
We
most
just play
teams
like
don't.
shit usually.
I mean, I think the occasion is a big part of this, though. You guys were up for it, and that leads you to want to go take it. We're at your home, and you've built up this occasion.
Which is funny because the first
So you're
60
gonna
minutes,
go
I didn't think we were up
for
for
the
it.
win like that. I feel like there was no other choice.
No, I think Dylan put it well though. I think the big takeaway is the emotional aspect. I mean, it is what it is. Like Arsenal are a bit of an emotional team,
Fun police,
and it's. I'm just trying to fuck with you, but in all seriousness, in all seriousness, the whole stay
They are.
humble thing, the whole,
It's good for the league.
It's been made to be. I
Because
think
I'm
you just
tired
said
of
it.
the
You know,
city
they've made
pool.
it
I'm
this
tired for
big
the
thing.
city pool love.
Yeah,
Like
no, it was
that
great.
stuff.
Emotion's not a
Great
bad
with it.
thing.
Yeah.
All right, okay, but in we're not doing shit this season. So on
they do
paper,
stink.
this was not a big game. In
I
the eyes
understand the
of the
mental
season,
aspect.
but yes, I
For them
understand.
to get the win
Yes.
over City, to see the guys in Sky Blue lose, like proper lose. So they got that 1-0 last year, but that was a dead game. But yeah, I think emotionally is a big game. I think, Dylan, you're kind of getting at it. The whole stay humble stuff, like it came back to bite, but I think you were going to get at the point, so I'll let you kind of elaborate on it. But like, did they learn the lesson, or what were your takeaways on that?
No, it's look, football is 90%, mental and 10% physical, in my opinion. This is why players go through ebbs and flows every season. And for this Arsenal team who wasn't scoring goals to put 5 past the team that has consistently caused them issues in the league, I think it's just one of those, we finally beat that team that we've been looking up to for the last couple seasons, regardless of where they're at in the standings. That doesn't matter. You've got Arteta, who was a Pep disciple. You've got, all these players that have kind of been just right, like almost seen as like the B team to a City. And they finally did it. They finally got past this hurdle that, whether it's, it is to them or not, like it's just a perception thing. And now if it was me and I was an Arsenal fan, I'd be thinking we can beat anyone and we should be able to put 5 past anyone, regardless of if we get anyone in, regardless of the fact you guys didn't get anyone. Sorry. But
That's just so crazy to me that we're the worst, like one of, if not the worst defense in the Premier League right now.
Yeah, more goals conceded than United is crazy.
Yeah, but
the only reason we're afloat is because our attack is so prolific. Like there's no, like we're terrible defensively. Whether that's a midfield problem or a defense problem, like
they both
we
stink.
cannot. We are conceding goals right now.
Yeah, no. It has nothing to do with where City you're at, because you guys are leaking goals. But it's just
I know. I understand. I completely understand what you're saying, and I agree to an extent. But I just think they should not take it like that, because
they have to.
We're gonna be a completely different team next year, though. So if you don't go,
I think they know
this, but they need to be going for it now, which is kind of where I'm
build off of it. No.
This is where I want to take it, because I think that this is the important fact. Is this is a game where you lose and then Liverpool pick up 3 points against Everton and you're
9.
Is it 12 points behind? If you were to lose this and they pick up the 3 at hand, which is 12, which is I think is just impossible. But now we're looking at a 9-point gap.
Come on,
if
boys.
they beat Everton, which I'm assuming they do, but that's just. It's a few games here or there that we've seen City make up those points. Like that could just be kind of the leap that could spark the title challenge for him. I don't know if that's going to happen. I can't rely on Havertz to get me a goal and an assist every game.
Yeah,
so that's where I'd be reserved, but I'm not going to speak on it because it's not my team. So
do
you want to talk about that?
I think he stinks, and that's why I don't think they're going to win.
Which is
fair. Yours, Facundo.
I don't know. I understand the whole like City's not great right now and all of this stuff. I don't know why we care. Like, your attitude at the beginning, obviously, things are different now as the season has gone on. But like, I think the attitude, we both enjoyed how that first game this year went, and we were both kind of glad that there was this chippiness and things to it. And it's still the same. I'm glad they don't like each other. It makes it way more entertaining. You could argue that the emotion sometimes can benefit you. And like Dylan's been saying, it doesn't matter where you guys are. Like, had you won, you would have been 3 points behind us. So you're really not that far off behind, even with bad form. So I think it was one massive to beat you guys because it keeps us in the title race and it keeps it at that 6-point difference right now. And then in terms of going for, I don't know. I go back and forth, right? There's those games where like a Villa or a United or whatever that we should be scoring more, or a Fulham where we just need one goal to win the game and we don't get it. But I don't know. It depends on the 9 that you're talking about, because everybody says we need a striker.
That's kind of
we
my
need
point,
a very
though.
specific type of profile that fits the way Mikel wants to play. If you can't combine with the rest of the team, that's going to hinder our ability to create chances, which means if you have less chances, it's less likely to score a goal. That's why I think Havertz works. Plus the out of possession stuff is massive. That's why Odegaard and Havertz will always be leading the front line, is because those guys will create chances just based off turnovers in the high press. And that stuff to me matters. But I can see, I don't know. I think this team obviously could use a bit more attacking pieces. I just think Liverpool is in ridiculous form right now. I mean, Mo's playing out of his mind. Verge is ridiculous. And then that midfield three is, I'm very complimentary of Liverpool. I think it'll be a tough challenge to come back and win. But I think if they can drop points, we play them late in May. Like, I think if we can keep it to within 6 to 3 points, and then we get to May and we play them and then we're level on points, then, we'll see what happens. But yeah, there's probably going to be a game where we should win and create, I don't know how many chances, and then draw 2-2 at home. And we're looking at ourselves like, why didn't we get an attacking player? But I also think you have to add context to that. It's extremely hard in January to sign a forward that is affordable. That doesn't hinder. You can't. That guy's not making a difference. He's awful in France.
Oh, he's not good.
I saw today a report from Ornstein that said
it's a loan.
Villa offered us Watkins for 60, and we responded with 40. But like,
yeah, you guys did that bid knowing Duran was gone to save face
before the Duran stuff. And then we said that valuation's too high, and we countered with 40, and they're like, no. Because they knew what they were going to.
Yeah, 40
that's
is
up to you.
That's up to every
no
club. Intention of
like Harry Kane's whatever. Stop.
Hold on. Facundo, I need you to pause for a second. Because we had this conversation. Me, Mila, and Grant had this conversation, and these two fucking idiots looked at me and told me that Ollie Watkins could be sold for 40. You both looked at me and told me
you're talking to the two clubs that have no idea what finances are.
Right.
It happened.
These are the two. City's the only team in January that's taught anyone.
Do you want me to pull up?
The first person on planet Earth that tells me why don't you buy someone in January? Because we're not Chelsea, bro. We don't have money to blow. The rest of the league operates in a different reality than your two clubs.
Oh, we bought. Yeah, we'll talk to it.
I think if you guys spending
Blue Brigade.
Right.
We win trophies and we make money from winning trophies.
No, you guys sold a bunch of players. You guys, even in the past, you could.
We also win.
You
get a lot of money from winning.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Facundo, my thought too, like obviously Havertz, like I understand the value that he adds, all that. Surely you would say though you need another striker just regardless, because Jesus.
But I can also say that the other guys around him should be contributing more goals. Like we're blaming our leading goal scorer, bro. Like that's crazy to me. Like Martin scored his second goal of the year.
He's the highest paid player on your team.
No, you're blaming him because he played for your club and he sucked.
He plays up top,
and you still have an agenda. He
sucked there too, dog.
He's got 15 goals in all conferences. Our leading goal scorer. Like Martin scored his second goal of the year. Martinelli is picking up form, but he's not putting the ball in the net. Like we don't have soccer right now. Granted, we need an attacking player because we don't have a lot of depth up front. But like the sole issue isn't Kai. It's the fact that we're at our best when everyone scores goals and everyone's not scoring goals, and we get frustrated in the moments, right? If we don't win that game and we look back on that Kai chance where he misses it at 2-0, that's all we're going to talk about. But in reality, like nobody played well for 60 minutes. That should have been the narrative, but we would have been talking about Kai missing that and making it 2-0. Yes.
Oh, he gets targeted. I agree. By me personally. But again, what I will say is, he's your highest paid player who plays at the position that scores the goals. Like, of course, I expect him to do that. Odegaard, you're the captain. I expect you to do better. Not GA even with Odegaard. He's a midfielder. But like, I just expect the performances to be better over 90 minutes. Martinelli, I mean, he sold dreams 2 years ago. I think that's what it is at this point. Again, like you said, he's been better lately, but not that level. Of course, the blame does deserve to be shouldered equally, but I think if we're talking piece of the pie, Havertz's is probably the biggest, only because he's the highest paid player. He starts up top.
I mean, he missed his chances, but he is like that's our leading goal scorer.
You know what I mean? Yeah, he's playing up top. He gets the most chances on goal. I'd hope he is.
He does get more hate than is warranted, but I do agree that the issue is that's not him. Like, that's not what Arteta brought him in to do, is to be the striker. And the issue is that you guys haven't gotten a forward, which is I think where we're all getting at. It's like, if you just got a forward, I don't know who it would be. Maybe that's a bigger issue.
But you're willing to pay that in the summer.
But you guys don't want to spend money, so then you don't get rid of that.
We did it with
Get rid of
Declan.
that.
We did it with Declan. We paid 100 million, and then we paid 65 million.
I guess that's
for
fair.
Kai Havertz in the same window. Guess what we're doing next window? We're buying Zubimendi, and then you're going to go after Isak. Yes.
You guys are going to spend over 200 mil
in January
in one window
because it's PSR for this year. June 30th, and then it's different.
January is.
To be fair, they sold Smith Rowe. They sold Smith Rowe for pure profit, and Kedia too. Them combined is 70. Reese, I assume, gets sold. I don't know how much you get for him, but that's a lot of pure profit.
You're going to have Jesus.
Zubimendi and Isak can go for like 240.
As someone, I know a lot about pure profit. They got money to spend.
Not
if they spend it or not.
They don't want to spend it.
I agree.
I guess the issue is PSR.
I'll see it when I believe it. I'll believe it when I see it.
Stopgap in there. There could have been a stopgap, is what I thought.
They did it with Jorginho 2 years ago.
But maybe you're right. Maybe the idea is, I think maybe we can win it this year, and you guys are just full sent on the idea of next year you'll be so dominant when you can spend a ton of money. Maybe that's the idea.
Shouldn't have done something.
We're not in those conversations.
Should have, but the market kind of dictates what you can and can't do. I can't have a conversation. If I had a
there's players to get. There's players out there.
There's
players out there, bro.
Tell what to Spurs.
There's players out there to get, and you don't have to spend big money. Just fucking do your fucking work.
That you're going to sign.
Do the research.
A title.
Like there's Jonathan David.
How much
fucking could have been picked up?
You guys should have.
Jonathan David could have been picked up. He scored against all the top.
15 million.
He would have been 15 to 20 million.
6 months left.
And you guys didn't even fucking bother even making a bid. It was just links.
And he links.
That's not our fault. That's not my fucking team's fault.
No disrespect, David.
What
it's
about
not my team's fault for you guys not choosing to spend your money when you can.
David was a market opportunity.
I don't complain about other people spending.
And
I said that
use that as an excuse for you. You just did.
Because you
pointed fingers at Grant and I. Okay.
No comment.
So I will point at this just because I love him to death and I would never want it to happen, so I'm happy it didn't. But like a Rashford, for example, right? A guy where you could have gotten him on loan. I know his wages are high. Maybe that's the issue, but you guys were linked to him before.
You don't train well doesn't like if your manager's coming out and saying you don't train well, that's not good for you. And then two, I will always say this: you have to look at the profile of the team and the way Mikel wants to play. Will that guy press?
I think if he was offered the opportunity to and have this new experience, I think it's possible. Like we'll find out what he does with Villa. I'm saying the reason that he doesn't train hard and all that stuff, I think comes down to his just situation. He's been the brutal end of this vicious cycle of abuse for the last 4 or 5 years, and it gets blown out of proportion that he isn't training well. Yeah, because literally the club was like, "We're selling you." His boyhood club. There's got to be some emotional connection there that fucking hurts. That would hurt me if the team that I gave everything to, my entire life to, was like, "We don't fucking want you anymore." Like that would drive me insane. So for him to stop caring, I don't know if I could blame him, because if my job told me, "You suck, we want to get rid of you, but you got to stay here until we can get rid of you," you'd be like, "What the fuck am I doing here? Why would I give you any effort if you're telling me I need to fuck off?" Yeah. I think every player does that. I think Chilwell's doing that at Chelsea. Why would he train hard?
he was a professional about that. I've bashed him like crazy, but you didn't hear a word from him. Unlike Sterling putting out fucking statements. We saw
There's
why
another
Sterling got
example.
dropped. We saw
And
why
we did
Sterling
that.
got dropped.
And
He
Marcus hasn't been
sucks.
playing
Like
well.
it's
And
very simple.
we're the
But
king of
yeah,
literally taking everybody's
no, there's
projects that
Sterling.
didn't work out
Sterling.
and trying to
Absolutely.
revitalize them. When you're competing for a title, that's
I just don't think
I
that
could say
Marcus Rashford's gives you an any worse opportunity than a Trossard does on the pitch. That's I guess where I was getting at is like you maybe could have taken a chance on a guy like that, a stopgap. If it didn't work, you could have gone and just given him back to United. No harm, no foul, I guess would have been this opinion. But if you don't want to pay the wages of whatever he's on, I also get that. Is he ready to be in a title contending team after he hasn't been in one for years? Also makes sense.
I mean,
I was just curious to see
I'm
what
very
you thought
particular about
that
like
just profile.
if you're going to bring someone in, and I understand you could probably make the argument that Rashford is a game changer, but I do think that these guys have very specific targets that they want to pursue. That if they spend the money now, if you went after Isak now, you cannot get him now. Newcastle's not letting him go right.
No,
but I think that's the type of signing internally that we're expecting to make.
Keep going. I get it in that sense. Yes. Okay. That's yeah.
Facundo, I guess to wrap it, like look at what Villa just did, where they loan in Rashford, they loan in Asensio, they loan in Disasi. I think they brought some Malin. They bought in on a permanent, but not even including Malin. Just like loaning in guys like that who, okay, we need bodies up front. They'll do a job until summer, and then we go do business. Would you have been opposed to that? Like we're again like they do a job.
We did that with Sterling, and the guy doesn't
again, it's an
play.
Attacking body. It's positive.
Like at a certain point,
Sterling. I think we all four of us could agree. We all knew that wouldn't work. We all knew that wouldn't work. We all knew that. Sterling,
that
I'm not going to use,
have.
but like,
and some of the guys that you're listing, I don't think are at or above the level than what we currently have. Like, it's a very scarce market in January for attackers, bro. And I understand. I'm all for like we needed bodies. Like Saka's gone down. At this point, we're like a month away from him coming back. And Grant, I hope he's fit. He's able to play the rest of the year. All this stuff. I just think, and I completely agree with. Like I understand where you guys are coming from. You have to make a push to try and win it this year. Completely agree with that. But at the same time, you've got to weigh the pros and cons of do you hinder your ability to win it moving forward, and what is your long-term vision for your club? I say this, like Isak is the perfect profile because he can play off the left. He can play in the 9. He does everything that Havertz does in terms of pressing, being able to drop deep, connect with everybody, but he's also got the finishing ability. And when you need a special moment, Isak has that. I just think that there are very specific targets that Mikel wants that he thinks that he can persuade. And I will trust that guy for the rest of my life, considering I went from seeing Mustafi, Rob Holding, Socrates in a back line, and now we're competing for a third straight title. Like, I might not agree with every decision. I think the board right now is being a little frugal with money. I can completely understand that. But I do think that it's also a scarce market, and the market determines the actions that you're going to take. And in January, I'm sorry, it's like impossible. It's like, what, 15% of transfers have happened in January?
Dude, the big thing I got from that is if Arteta puts Isak on the left to accommodate Kai Havertz, him and Partey should share a cell.
You're only listening. That
was such a rage bait.
No, you can't. No. Do you hear what he said?
Would you play Nico Jackson on the left if you ended up getting a striker?
I can't. Yes.
Nico Jackson is gone if they get a striker.
Nico Jackson is not Isak, bro. I'm his number one fan. He's not Isak. I think we wrapped that up pretty well.
I think so. I have nothing left to.
Yeah.
Nico Gonzalez, baby. That's all I got.
Yeah. Bro, to be fair, that January transfer dopamine, it hits every time you get something. You're like,
we could have just signed him, and I would have been happy. We needed one thing. We needed one actual player to be signed. I was at
Facundo's when we first went in for Mudryk. I was like, oh, now I really want it. Like, oh man, I'm glad the window's shut.
Oh. Yeah, I'm not, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. So next team in Manchester, what are we saying?
Yeah, let's run through United really quickly because it's not any different than any other game that United are going to play from now till the rest of the season or the last 10 weeks. So it doesn't really matter. I'll give my 3 takeaways. United are boring. They have no striking end product, and they're super stagnant when they have to take the game to other teams. My second thing is Maguire and Euro as a combination, particularly on the right side, is not good. I don't think Maguire covers his lines well enough for Euro, who's a young center back still learning the system, to figure that out. Maguire just kind of does his own thing, lives in La La Land for too many portions of the game, which is why I'm not super cool with the idea of him staying. And him and Euro were really at fault for both of the goals, right? And then the third thing is they're leaving Amarin out to dry. They ripped him away from Sporting. They told him, come fix this fucking terrible team. And they backed him with one signing, and they let go of Rashford, Antony, and Malacia. And now with Martinez's injury, he's going to have to rely on an 18-year-old center back to actually produce and have minutes during the season. I don't really know where United goes from here. They're in 13th again. We've already talked about the Premier League scraps, and you should focus on Europa, but I thought he made a pretty clear message. Hey, I'm going to play Mainu at striker today because I have no strikers. Go get me a striker. And then they let the striking option that they've been linked to for the last week and a half, 2 weeks, go to Spurs.
With a buy option.
With the buy option, which apparently was the big thing.
Yeah, that was the whole thing, because he said, I'm not going to Spurs permanently. That's why he said no originally.
Am I supposed to believe that Rashford, Antony, and Malacia's loans wouldn't have been grouped together enough to get you the $5 million it would have costed to get Tell for the rest of the year?
Yeah,
it's ridiculous. I don't got it. The game was
on Ineos.
Yeah, look, the game. We all watched the game. That's the same game we've watched for the last 15. So the performance doesn't matter to me. Look, they hold the ball up. They're retaining the ball. They get to these positions. They can't score goals. He started Mainu in the 10. Do you guys have any other thoughts on United?
Mainu false 9. I understood
vision, false 9.
But yeah, I think that was the exact statement. Mainu looked fantastic in the 10. He looked comfortable in the system. When you had 2 actual 10s out there, the system you started to see, okay, I see what this manager's trying to do. And then I think you got it spot on. He put Mainu up top to make a point. These two aren't good enough. Højlund and Xerxes. They're not good enough. And they didn't do anything about it. Again, I brought it up earlier. Kolomwani, do I think he's fantastic? Do I think he's the next big number 9? No. But a body in on loan 6 months, I think he's better than the other 2 options. So go in. Pay a little loan fee. Do something. But when you're seeing players play in their positions, you can start to see a semblance of football being played. But when you have the 2 fullbacks at wing back, how many times do we have to say that's not going to work? Garnacho's not a 10. That kind of throws off things in the final third when he gets out wide, and then Dallo gets in that half space, doesn't know what he's doing in there. It's just a mess. And I think, to your point, there's only so much Amarim can do. Obviously, the record's not going to help. The results aren't going to help his case. But I think looking at it week in and week out, it's there's only so much you can do to work with this. And to not even bring in bodies to replace... Because, again, Antony, we all know our thoughts on Antony. Not a great player. But you got to put someone back in. You have literally no one to work with. You have Amad, Garnacho, Højlund.
Am I the only one that
those
thinks
are your only attackers?
Let's just play a different formation. Okay.
It just
shouldn't you be adapting to the players that you have as a manager?
No,
not when you're planning on getting rid of them.
This is the issue. Is they brought him in to play this style, and then they went, "Hey, you can just fucking deal with these guys for the rest of the year. We'll get you one of your players that works in this system, but then you should just fuck off for the rest of the year and have it work." It's unrealistic. This was the thing that got Ten Hag sacked. Is they went, "All right, Ten Hag, here's your players. We're gonna back you in the summer, so deal with it for now." And then by that point, they figured out, "Oh, we can play in this style. We'll just keep doing this." And Ten Hag never got back to Ten Hag ball. And then he got sacked. They're doing the same thing with Amarin. He's got to set the precedent to be like, we're going to continue to play the style, whether it works, whether not, it doesn't. Because, unfortunately, like you're saying, and I think the January window showed it, guys like Rashford, Antony, Malacia. Let's just keep going. Dallo, Maguire, Lindelof. Garnacho, Hoyland, Xerxes, all these guys, they can't sell. And so 70% of the squad is going to have to stay, and they're going to have to learn this.
Maybe this is just a bias,
Facundo.
and you can tell me to F off, whatever. Mikel came in December. He tried playing 4 in the back with that disgusting back line I just mentioned, and then realized I needed to shift to a back 3 to accommodate for the team. Like, at a certain point, I do think, I agree with you, right? You want to implement your style. But if the players that you have don't work with the style that you're trying to implement, then you've got to adjust to the players that you have.
I get what you're saying, Facundo. I think I just want to say something here, Dylan. The reason that he can't just go, okay, 4-2-3-1, like that's how we're going to run. He was brought in because, to Dylan's point, Ten Hag was brought in to say, hey, you need to fix this. Play your way. We'll do the rest. He realized, I can't do it, switched his game up, and then from that point on, it was done. The writing was on the wall. Amorim was brought in, and essentially the job said, this team is fucked. You need to do what you do to get us back. So if he starts changing it, at what point does he know, what is my stuff? You know what I mean? Like, it's just going to blur the lines even more. I understand making tweaks to the system, right? Like, I've always been critical of Ange for this. Like, you were brought in to do your thing, but surely you can tweak something there. But the principles, the philosophy, it has to stay the same when you're brought in the context he was brought in the middle of the season. Like, hey, please just do what you've been doing the past 5 years over at Sporting, wherever long he's been there, because he's been dominating over there. He's been dominating in that league. Do exactly what you were doing until it gets good. That's what he was brought in to do.
I don't think you're ditching it. I just think you're ditch that. Adjusting to what you have right now.
I agree, but I think the lines get too blurred, especially when they're as low as they are. You saw what happened to Potter. I mean, it was the quickest possible version of this, where it's like, oh my god, what do I do? What do I do? And at a certain point, it just blew up. So he's got to be able to stand on something, because if he starts changing it and it's not going to work, because honestly, I don't think this team's very good. I don't think it'll do that much. At what point, what does he have to stand on?
I just think continuing to try and play
if he changes it and it still doesn't work.
None is.
So, well, they brought in one.
He's got one.
What?
I understand your thought process. I think it's a little different to the Arsenal situation, because Arteta came straight off the back of
Emery.
Wenger,
he came in
right?
December.
Like, that was the first guy?
He came in December.
Emery, sorry. So there was 2. I think the main difference is we went from Sir Alex to Moyes, and Moyes is just not a great manager, to be honest.
He's cooking right now.
With Everton.
At this level, yeah.
Sure. Which then they brought in Louis van Gaal, which he never got to play his style, and they asked him to do a bunch. And then he got sacked, and then they brought in Jose, and Jose wanted to play his style, and they didn't give him the players to do that. So then they sacked Jose, and then they brought in Ole, and then Ole started to play his style, and then they didn't back him, and then he got sacked, and then Ten Hag came in, and it's the same cycle.
You forgot about Wreck-It Ralph.
Oh, well, fuck. Wreck-It Ralph literally said the same thing that Amorim's saying, which is this is open heart surgery.
And they did open heart surgery. They did it. They replaced a ton of those players, and they just still suck. Like, the recruitment, just not good.
I just think that at this point, you got to let the manager do what he's going to do, and he's got to set these standards. And I don't know if he knows anything different, if I'm being completely honest with you.
Oh, he's a young manager too, yeah. I think you might be right there.
I don't know if he knows a better way of doing this. And to be honest with you, I'd rather, to his point, I'd rather see us suffer and learn who can play in this system now, because the season's gone. There's only one thing that's left to win. It's Europa, in my opinion. Like there's United are going to be in a serious hole financially.
Still in the FA Cup?
Yeah, that doesn't matter to me.
No, but you're still in it at least, no?
Yes, but like to the point of that's not going to change our financial situation. Europa is the only thing that'll change the financial situation at the club. They're in trouble. I get what you're saying, because results matter. I think at this point I'm at a point which is like
Yeah,
don't
I'm
relate
not saying
poor
it for
process
results.
with
I'm
good
saying
results.
it for confidence of the players
Yeah.
that you have. Like you've got to try and lift them with something. And if playing
They're
this,
all. How many of those players are a part of the plan, though?
well,
You know what I
what
mean?
if
I
they
don't think he
turn
gives
into
a fuck
something that
about most of
becomes a
those
part of
guys.
the plan? Like you've got to do something to. I think. Fair enough.
There's not much
I
there, mate.
I seem like I'm the
It
only
really
one on
isn't.
this train, so
That's how I
I'll
see it.
No.
I'll
Like
argue.
I'll just list. Let me just list off players in the squad, and you tell me if you think this is a player that should be in United's long-term plans. Ahmad, so Diallo, Mainu, Garnacho.
Indifferent.
He's expendable. You're going to sell him for pure profit.
Indifferent, right? So that's a player that doesn't fit the system. Dallo,
Yeah. I mean, I think he's good, but
different,
it's just
or
tough for him right
just
now.
doesn't fit this, right?
Oh, he's
He's
not a
been
wing
playing
back.
decent, but I don't know about long term.
Doesn't
In the
fit.
state, he'll still stay in the team, I think.
Doesn't fit the system.
He plays a right center back in
They're
the
all
system, and
expendable.
he's looked
They're
good
all-
when he's played there.
Yeah.
Ugarte
He's a good squad player.
That's the one.
Fitz,
I think
Bruno.
he's the one that.
Can do a
30.
little bit of both.
He fits in the pivot, if anything. But yeah, he's expendable at his age, the system.
But it's not like Bruno's
No, he
putting
didn't
it
play.
back.
He didn't play well.
No,
against
he was our
Palace,
best
but-
There's only so
player
much
on the
you can
day.
do.
Like
I know. I completely agree.
he's got
I
no one to
completely
play.
agree.
I
Yeah,
don't
no,
know what it's a weird. Bruno's just a.
Lot more
I don't
people to
think-
blame
I can't see
for
him.
him.
I can't see you guys getting rid of him.
No, I can't. I don't think we should. He's been our best player over the last 4 games, but we lost
Should
a
be in the
game,
pivot.
so the world's falling apart, and he's going to be the reason why. Because he's the captain. That's part of being the captain. But then we could go through like Martinez, who's had back-to-back knee surgeries, right?
Yeah,
like that's not
might
good.
be- it might be time
Maguire,
to replace that.
Euro, Delict. It's just a bunch of scraps. Like he's playing with
Yeah,
scraps.
but it's not like 13.
I'm
To
at-
be fair, like
I'm
now,
at
I don't
the
even
only
know
one
if
saying.
you could play just. Who
Back
would you
four?
play in a 4-back? Like, just
Who are their
for
attackers? They
Dallo
have
at right
four
back.
Who would you put in?
Wait,
Pick whatever center back pairing you want. Delicht, Euro, Maguire, and then you can pick what is it?
it'll have to be
Dorgu at left
Delict
back.
and Euro.
Euro
and
has
Maguire.
to be in there. I think they're too slow
It
without
doesn't
him.
fucking matter, bro. You
He's
can
not.
push him up
He's a
and
wing
push
back.
him further up. It doesn't matter.
I don't think he can play in a 4-pack.
He can play the
Like,
entire left
play a
side,
4-4-2,
so
play
there's
anything.
There's definitely
Like, just-
something to work with there.
Like I think
it could work.
Ten Hag was running a 4-2-3-1 though. Like that's my thing. It's like
yes,
that's-
but I
still
do.
think
It doesn't matter.
this
But
team's
you can't
not
just say
good.
because you're playing the
That's-
same
it's as
formation, you're
simple
going to
as
get
that.
the same results. If you're a different manager and you're making different tweaks to the system, you can get something different out of it.
I understand.
What's
I still don't
pivot?
think they have
It's
much
just-
there. What's the pivot?
We
They've
were in
subtracted
13th
players
without
and
it.
they've added Dorgu to. I don't think they can do much in that sense.
You just.
I
I think
understand
it's-
where
I
you're
think
coming
your
from,
problem
but
is you
like
lack
I don't
athleticism in the
think, to
midfield.
Dylan and Grant's
Like
point, I don't
losing.
think they can
This
make
sounds crazy.
that big
Losing
of a tweak.
McTominay actually was not great for you.
And for him,
He wouldn't play. He wouldn't play in the system.
Well, not
Like,
in a
I know
3-4-3,
there's like this because he's playing good at Napoli. He wouldn't have played in the other system either. He literally was a
Play at the
sub.
9.
He was a sub for Ten Hag. Like that's the thing is these are scraps.
He
They
would've
need
been a good
to
option up
rip it
top, to
apart
be
from me.
fair.
I'm just they suck. I just wish they had done more in the transfer market to give the manager the ability to do it because it's different than Arsenal in the sense of like you guys have pieces regardless. Like you don't have the striker, but you can still make that work. Regardless of the system, in my opinion, this team is in 13th. Like they were 13th with Ten Hag. I saw them in person get smacked by Tottenham
it's a tough
playing
one.
that 4-2-3-1 with Ugarte. They're just not a good team. There's maybe five players in a squad of
In terms of
20.
untouchable, like we cannot sell him. There's 3, right? It's Ahmad, it's Mainu, to me at least, and
I
then
think so
Euro.
too.
Just because of how quickly you bought him, Euro hasn't had the best debut season. But again, look at the context. Like, what do you expect? Like, he's a young.
Mhm.
There's talent there. But those are your 3 untouchable assets right now. And even Mainu, they might sell him. I think that'd be a bad move. But
I don't think they
everyone
will,
else
but
is expendable. Like you can live without. That's just where the team's at. I think it is so far gone like that. I think Amarim almost wants it. Not that he wants to lose every week, but he needs them to see like this is how bad.
Why are
it
you a
is.
manager
This
if
need.
you're
There's
going to
something needs
just
to be done.
sit there and say,
This-
I'm not
I
going to
mean,
do anything so that the board realizes I need help? Do your job.
It's not
This
a
team is so
manager
different.
problem
It
at
is
this point
so
anymore, though.
different.
It's so
I
clear
think-
that United do not have a manager problem.
They're in line. That's the one thing that I have. I think that they're in line. Like, I don't know if obviously Amarin's not happy they didn't bring anyone in, but they brought him a player that fits his profile of need, and they got rid of guys that he said he doesn't want. He said he doesn't want Malacia, he doesn't want Rashford, he doesn't want Anthony. Fuck him off. So they did that. Like, at least they feel in line. This isn't like Ten Hag was like, hey, I need a 6, and they went and got him Casemiro because he was a big name. You know what I mean? Like, this is the first time where United, I think, are in line with the manager, and they're just going to have to tough it out together because the season's gone. It's been gone. That's what happens when, this was my biggest concern, when you sack your manager after 10 games or whatever, your season's scrapped. You're looking for some resemblance of success, whatever that is.
It goes both ways. I mean, I think Ten Hag wouldn't have done much better at this point. Like, I think he wasn't the answer. We sacked a manager and won the champion. The only 2 times we won it was sacking a manager in the middle of the season. Again, 2 different squads, totally understand the context, but sometimes a manager absolutely needs to get sacked.
I mean, you guys could finish mid-table with Ten Hag. It wouldn't have mattered. That's not the whole reason he got sacked.
Covered up the cracks. Like,
It was
to
so
Ragnick's
you
point,
guys can
open
move
heart
forward.
surgery, all that.
Yeah.
Like, it does have to happen. And to your point, Dylan, I didn't even think of it that way, but okay, maybe the board and the manager are on the same page. That can do you a lot of good instead of buying a bunch of puzzle pieces from different puzzles and then throwing it all together on the same table. So maybe there's something there to that extent, but I've always kind of emphasized, like, if I were a United fan, considering where I was at 2 years ago, you have to take anything you can get as a positive in terms of the path. Like, where are we going from here? As soon as you don't see that, that's when it's time to really start raising your voice and asking more questions. But as bad as it is, like, you do see what the idea is going forward. It's just really if Ineos can get down to business and actually execute.
The strikers give you a margin for error because United didn't play awful, right? They held the ball, they had shots, they just didn't convert, and they just didn't convert. They didn't score. So then one flick on that hits the crossbar, you're not paying attention, and Mateta scores. Like, United didn't look like they were going to score, so that's the game. So if you're not keeping clean sheets, which is asking your defense a lot, that's game. Ineos has to live with the decision they made, which is they didn't sack Ten Hag in the summer when they could have brought in Amarin then.
Yep.
So now they got to live with the idea that the manager's going to do whatever he wants. He's in control, and we got to back him in the summer, which I guess is where they're at now. Just sad. This is on Ineos and on the Glazers for not doing business well over the last 10 years, and Ineos not doing the right decisions in the summer. It's all just this domino ripple effect that gets put onto both the manager and the players. Because I don't think that these players deserve some of this criticism. Like, look, they play bad, but, like, should some of these players be United players? No, they're here because people above them made the wrong decision. That's where I'm at with United. They suck. Short search summaries, they suck. Let's go to the blue Chels.
Dude, what a disgusting watch.
More pain and suffering.
Yeah, fucking Christ.
Bro, like, we won and I still just have a bad taste in my mouth.
Oh, I forgot you guys won.
I
watched
know.
the whole game.
Fucking gross game.
So yeah, the first half was a lot of the same. You see the structure. West Ham are playing a 3 in the back now, 5 in the back, whatever you want to call it. So the possession, it's a 3-1-6, right? You got Cucurella and Enzo in the half spaces. Palmer just kind of roams around. I do think he's carrying something. He's not really moving that well, but he's just dropping deeper, playing balls in, kind of get the wingers going. But he doesn't look 100% for me. But just a whole lot of nothing going on. Very predictable. West Ham looked very well drilled. Potter seems to have kind of came in there and said, okay, like, this is the team I have. I'm going to make sure we're good defensively and we're not going to create shit. That's what he did with us. We were able to keep a lot of clean sheets with Potter, but had absolutely nothing going forward. however much you want to blame that on personnel or the coach himself. But again, they were very sound defensively. Every chance they got was from us. And I think Colwell giving that goal away perfectly summed up this run of form we've been in. Just the nonchalant shit with Colwell is really starting to get to me. It's not the first time he's done something like this. And he just doesn't, I guess the way Mila would like a defender to be, just really like a defender, like someone who's willing to get dirty, willing to make a shot. Colwell just looks like he doesn't look like he wants to get dirty and he wants to make the nice pass. And like, I think he's a very talented prospect, but he's showing his age. He's played a lot of guys on this year too. That lack of awareness to step back and not play everybody on. He's been culpable of that multiple times. And then him giving that goal away, I mean, it's just ridiculous. That was our first come from behind win at halftime at home since 2013. That's a crazy stat. Yeah, I learned that today. But I'm glad we reversed the script. I think that performance, again, I really didn't like the game, 1 through 90. It wasn't a good watch. Our best chance creation comes from deep crosses in from out wide, and Cucurella's the only guy really like, oh yeah, he might get onto it, and he's a 5'8" left back. So Dylan kind of alluded to this a short while ago, to where we signed a lot of talented individuals, but when you look at the squad as a whole and the way it's constructed, you're starting to see the limitations there. It gets predictable, and when the wingers aren't on their tip-top game, there's really it gets really dry in terms of chance creation. And then to be able to say, okay, we're not going to be able to play through teams, let's start crossing. Nicholas Jackson does a lot of things. One thing he doesn't do is get on the end of crosses. That's not his game. I think all of us know that, regardless of how we feel about where he is as a striker. That's not his strengths. And we didn't bring anybody in January to complement Jackson up top, so he's going to have to hang out and dry there. Guiu came on. I actually think he does add a lot in terms of a different profile. I thought his hold-up looked clean today. He is an aerial threat, at least relatively to Jackson. He's also 18, 19 years old. We shouldn't be relying on him to be our backup striker for the rest of the season. I don't think he was brought in to do that, but here we are. So we get the equalizer as Pedro Neto. I thought had a really good cameo. As soon as he came on, he changed the game, because between the two of our wingers, Sancho's definitely, he didn't do anything, for better or worse. That's just how I felt about his performance. He just really didn't do much, so definitely warranted to take him off. Madueke definitely tried, but again, another frustrating performance. But at least he tried, so you keep him on over Sancho. But Neto added a ton. I think he looked better when he was on the left. Relentless, he follows his cross, and it was an ugly goal. It's not a goal that we're accustomed to scoring this year, especially the dreams Enzo sold us pre-Everton game. You expect this team to just beautiful flowing footy, get like 2-3 goals easy. It was a really scrappy goal. 3 offside checks and a foul later, they confirm it. I totally didn't think that was going to happen. And then an own goal to win it. I think the big takeaways, because again, the performance was ugly. Maresca's first sub was in the 50th minute. He brought on 2 guys. I think that is a lot better. That's what we want to see as fans, is to make those changes early. We saw nothing was happening that whole first half. Change it. We got to do something else. So I'm glad he made that sub. And Nkunku coming on as like the left winger, but tucking him in to have him in the half spaces, I thought it was a good touch. He's definitely not going to be playing as a 9 too much, I would assume, because João Felix is gone already, which is just, we'll get into that after we wrap up this game. But I like that touch. I think to have one of the fullbacks hold the width, especially, I think Gusto's probably better suited for it out of our current set of fullbacks. But to be able to tuck a guy like Palmer in and then throw Nkunku as the 10 or vice versa, get the guys who actually know how to score goals on the field when we can't score goals. It really does come down to that. I like the flexibility he showed. I thought Caicedo and Enzo showed a lot of character in that second half. I thought they really helped us get over the line. And then even at the very end, bringing on Chalobah and parking it. That's the first time I've seen Maresca do that this year. Bring on another center back, 5 in the back. We're going to see this game out. So I think that's a step in the right direction. I'd like to think that's a positive. That's something new that we're seeing that does need to be done. You should be able to see out a game against 15th place West Ham at home, who are awful. But they got it done. Dylan, did you catch the whole game? Because it was just an ugly game. But
I catched most of it. I missed the Bowen goal. Thank God.
There was as soon as the ball fell, like Colwell passed it to him, like 1-0.
Yeah, I don't like Bowen. So I'm very happy.
10 errors leading to goals this year.
Yeah. Jorgensen was solid. He did his job.
You didn't notice him. That was it. And that's why he should start next game. I can't believe I didn't bring that up, Dylan. I can't believe that's not the first thing I didn't bring up. I even saw the line. Good. Sanchez gives away goals every game. He creates chances for the other team.
I understand.
I wish you could comprehend having to watch your team play with that guy in goal.
He understands it.
Yeah.
I think
Ramsdale
I've been there
What are we
before.
talking about?
No, that guy's... Bro, we downgraded from Kepa. Do you know how absurd that is? We downgraded from Kepa. That's unbelievable. So Jorgensen, the fact that I didn't notice him, brilliant. Bring him out next game. You don't want to be scared every time the ball's at your goalie's feet. I remember one pass in particular, Palmer gave him maybe the worst pass I've ever seen back to a goalie. Did you guys all catch that? Like that looping? Oh my God, hospital pass. I would have quite literally soiled my pants if that was Sanchez. I would have shit myself. Jorgensen didn't deal with it that cleanly, but it got out. The fact that I didn't notice him, fantastic. Bring him back in. I hope this reign of terror is over. But
what I will say is there's a different way that you guys play, which I don't. This was kind of my thing with Enzo is like you guys played through Sanchez. It was a choice. You don't have to play through your goalie. Teams don't play through their goalie in a lot of circumstances. You guys didn't play through Jorgensen much today. And you guys had 60-something% possession.
To be fair,
it was a choice not to give him the ball, which is totally fine. But it's like, why did you guys spend most of the year playing through Sanchez, watching him give the ball away if you can just choose not to?
Well, that I would say the reason for that is they didn't really press too high on most occasions. Anytime the ball did get pressed all the way back to Jorgensen, he was booting it for the most part. He was playing long first time.
This is exactly my point.
But West Ham weren't putting that much pressure on us, so when we were able to recover the ball, most of them just played off. They were like, okay, back into our shape. So there was no need to even play it back because they just stopped pressing. So for that's just the way this game was approached by the opponents. I'm not going to say that. I still think we're a team that wants to be able to have a goalkeeper who can play with the ball at his feet, which is even more shocking that we're linked to Koval, who is awful with his feet, but a really good goalkeeper.
Let's start talking about goalkeepers in the club.
Before we get into transfer talk with this institute, I wish I could. Tosin saved the game at the end. Let's not forget.
Yeah, he did.
He's done that multiple times. Tosin, again, is he a world-class center back? Far from it. But he's experienced. What do we call him? An 80 overall. Like he's a solid, reliable.
He's Uncle Tosin.
Bro,
he's Uncle Tosin.
And that's experienced Premier League defender at the end of a game saying, "Oh shit," and taking care of it. That experience is definitely not taken for granted from me. I think he adds a lot in that aspect. Uncle Tosin in the locker room, all that stuff, it matters. Can't have a bunch of youngins running around just wreaking havoc. Like you need
stat that you guys haven't put out anyone over the age of 30.
Tosin's our oldest player who's played. He's 27.
Crazy.
He's 27, and he's been our
average
oldest
age of your squad is
22,
ridiculous.
23.
It's
Yeah,
something like that.
So, a lot of growing pains, but I think I'm just glad we got the 3 points. I mean, we've been awful ever since that Everton game, and we're in 4th right now. I think we're probably going to have 5 spots for Champions League. If we get Champions League, fantastic. The season was a success, but it has been really shaky, especially after that start to the season. You would have thought Champions League was a write-off, that this team was more than capable to secure that spot, and we've made it interesting. I still didn't like that performance, but I'd also like to think with the window shutting down, that's when we started to catch a groove at the start of the season. We also started the season pretty rocky with the window still open, so a little bit of copium, window shuts, and we might be back. But there's definitely lots of room for improvement right now.
That was the closest game that reminded me of last season for Chelsea. Like, just ugly. The whole game, both teams. Well, West Ham's job there was to
West
make
Ham
that game
is
ugly.
it's so
Right,
ugly
yeah.
football right
Brilliant
now.
job.
Yeah.
And but fuck, you guys had 22 shots. They had 14. I can't remember like one spell of play where I was like, well, that was a good one.
Oh yeah, they might score.
None of
Every
them.
time I thought, no. Do you understand? Every time I
Ugh.
thought we might get a goal was when we're getting it out wide. I'm like, oh, cross it. Like,
Yeah, you cross it. The goal wasn't even to cross it
Ugh.
for
No, it
someone
was
to head it
hideous.
into goal. It was to cross it to the back post for
to
Cucurella
get
to
it back
get a touch
across.
into
They
the
couldn't-
back.
Bro, they just started putting the ball in the
Oh
mix.
man.
And when
was
you have
crazy.
like dogs like Cucurella, Neto, like they can work with that. Sancho, yeah, that's not his game. You know what I mean? But yeah, chance creation's been an issue lately, and I think obviously Jackson hasn't
Your
scored in a while.
structure,
They probably correlate.
it's the same.
And it'd be
Nobody
nice to have
moves.
that.
Ugly.
Everybody stays in the same position. And I know you told me this. You're in phase 1. I still cannot believe you've not learned to overlap so that your winger's not 2v1 all the time, so that you pass it to Reese for Reese to cross.
Oh, they're very isolated.
This
The manager
is where
can't
the young
teach you to
team
overlap?
comes
Like,
into play,
come on.
though. I think so. Younger people are harder
That's
to
like the
teach.
one
Is the
thing
thing.
you
That's the
learn.
whole thing. You're supposed to have these older guys in the team that make it easier.
Now,
I
Facundo,
understand
so
that.
they're
On the
playing-
basic level, to your point, yes, they should be doing that shit. Overall, there's a lot of shit they should be doing. And they probably would be able to get that done if they had people that could put them under their wing and be like, hey, this is how it needs to be done. They don't have anyone like that. It's basically you're throwing a bunch of fucking kids in the deep end and just waiting for a couple of them to start swimming.
Yeah, and I think
That's what they're
Facundo
doing.
also, to expand on that point, obviously, like
It's
you
the
said,
same. It's the
very,
same 3 people. It's the
very
same
dry.
2
Like,
midfielders.
not
and
much
it's the same
movement. You
5.
could clearly see. Well,
When
now it was
Cole
one because you
drops
pushed
in,
Caicedo
it's
with
the
the
same
3 in the
thing.
back. It's just Caicedo all by himself. But same shit, same point. But I'll give you an example. It might sound like I'm picking on him, but Malo Gusto, when he came on, he was playing as the right-sided center back, right? Like that's what he's there doing. In the preseason, when he was inverting to be in the double pivot, that sort of freedom to be able to move a little bit to make things happen, he was given that license. He ends up at center forward, and then we're lost. We already are bad on transition. Gotta let me finish. I'm almost there. We're really bad on transition as is. So when you have Gusto, who's supposed to be center back, he goes and overlaps. He very well can lose the ball there, and we're cooked. Even more than we already are in transition. So I think they really need to understand this system. And to Mila's point, you don't have any deputies in there to say, hey, wait a minute. Like, we don't have that. So they really need to understand their responsibilities before they're able to overlap as the center back, right side is center back. You see what I'm saying? Like they're just
Obviously
not
harder
there.
in the game, but I
You can
think if
tell
we're
they're not
discussing it, I
So-
think they can get there. I just think, right, like I'm not asking him to invert. I'm just saying, if your winger's going to be 2v1 the entire time, you're putting your winger at a disadvantage. Help him. Underlap, overlap, do something other than the same thing. Because if you're just going to have Cucurella in the box all the time, then teams are just going to prepare for it. Have them switch. Cucurella can be the left-sided center back, and then Gusto can push further up. But like, there's got to be some sort of fluidity so that there is an unpredictability to how you guys move around so that you can manipulate other people to expose spaces. But right now it's the same structure all the time, the same players in the same position. And like to Dylan's point, I was like, the ball's moving side to side like Pochettino Chelsea. Like that was, and granted, it was just today, like, but it's...
No, it's been as of late.
But it's
in
also
its
your
bad run
manager's
form,
like what,
that
2
has
years
been
into his
a
career,
constant.
so like
because to your
I'm
point,
going to
no
give the
one's
guys
moving.
some grace, but I do think you've
Yeah,
got to
so
like be
no
able
bullshit.
to adapt.
Like, yes, you are right, but unironic. I can't believe I'm saying it. We're in phase 1. Like, there to actually like to elaborate on that statement. It's just these players need to understand their responsibilities before they're able to really get forward and be able to, free flow, to be able to flow better offensively with the ball.
Do you think you rely too much
it's
on
gonna
Cole?
take time. What? Yeah.
I was just about to hit on that.
Awesome. He's
We've talked about that
fantastic. But
plenty.
again, my opinion of him recently, I do think he's carrying something. Whether or not that's true, let's throw that away. The role he's been playing the past few games, in possession. It's a 3-1-6. He has a free license to roam. He is tended to drop deep, pick up the ball, and feed it forward to get attacks going, but he's not as much on the end of them. And when he's not, you're starting to see how dry the chance creation is, especially in the middle of the park. So I think Nkunku coming on, I don't think he was brilliant, but it added something in the middle of the park. I
It just
thought
seems
we
like
had
your
a tough
right hand
time
side
playing through the
operates
middle.
from the same space. Like Reese,
Which is
Cole, Noni all like to operate from. They all operate from the same space.
well, Reese
There's
is
like-
supposed to be the center back,
Yeah,
There's like 4 dudes in that area, like at all
That half
times. It,
space.
not moving.
just on the right side. This is kind of where I wanted to go to. Is like, why can't you just play
Wait, hold
Cole
on.
Palmer out there?
I
And-
have to go.
Okay, this is fine. Thank you, Mila.
Last thing I have to say though is Nico Gonzalez.
Nico
That's it.
Gonzalez.
Here we
Alright.
go.
Bye guys. Thanks,
All
bye.
right.
and now it's 6-1 Arsenal. Yeah.
Thank God that stupid idiot is gone. What I wanted to say is like, why can't they just put Cole Palmer on the right?
I think it's the defensive work rate. I don't think they want him running all the way back to help out the fullback. That's really what I think it is, because I thought about
sure.
it too. I agree, where it's like, hey, why don't you start him at the right, tuck him in, have Gusto overlap, who, let's be real, that's him at his best. He's a traditional fullback that likes to bomb forward on the wing. Yeah, you tuck him in, you throw in Nkunku as a 10, and then there's your setup, 3-2-5, just how you like it. So, yeah, it's a thought, but I don't think they want him running around like that. I really think that's what it comes down to.
It's just so strange because you guys aren't scoring goals unless it's Cole Palmer. And then I'm watching Cucurella jump in the middle for fucking headers. Like, you're
Dude,
not scoring like that. It's not, that's not a sustainable way of success going forward. So
Not at
just put Palmer where he was so good last year on the right for in games like this. I'm not saying every game. I don't
Yeah.
think you walk into City and you put Palmer on the right. But if he's carrying a knock, just pull him out of frame. Just make him the 1B player for one night. Like, Nkunku wasn't bad tonight. He wasn't good, but at least he took Cole Palmer out of frame. Cole Palmer goes on the left, he puts in a cross, and it ends up going in. Because Cole Palmer in space is the most dangerous player in the Premier League. I genuinely believe that. And every opportunity he had, he put the one just wide, and those all came from just being in space. And he'll have so much more space on. And maybe this is it. Maybe this is a substitution thing. Maybe you can bring in Nkunku on, and this is a form of like, hey, you're here for the rest of the year. João Felix is gone. Make this role yours. Maybe to your point, this is where you guys kick on.
Are we back? Is the question with Nkunku, because he's not a 9. I think it was dreadful to watch those cameos. So maybe there's something there. But again, to your point, Sancho and Neto or Sancho and Madueke, when they're out wide, the defenders know, okay, double up, because they're not going to, like, it's a simple solution. But to your point, Palmer's the only one where it's like, okay, if all that's going on, we can trap those two out wide, let them cross the ball in for all we care. Focus on Palmer. Yeah, it's going to be a tough day in the office. So
When was the last time Sancho had a goal or assist?
I knew this would be coming.
No. Like, it's not, because I don't think he's playing bad. I think it just isn't.
It's just, he's all right.
This is literally the Arsenal point. It's like your wingers aren't contributing, and so if your forwards line is not, then you're
Sancho's just the
relying on
equivalent
one
of
sole
Grealish.
person, and that's why.
It's to recycle.
His
Yeah.
yeah,
I think
Oh my
here's,
God.
pretty much. His last 5 appearances, he has no goal contribution. His assist against Palace. Remember the dummy?
Okay, so
That was the last
five
match.
matches, you guys have been in bad form.
3-4 starts, maybe. Yeah, it's Palmer FC sometimes.
He was literally in the box with one man to beat, blasted it straight into him. He's just not a goal threat.
He did have a few openings. To your point, there were a few chances where he could have scored.
It's fine if he is playing and he's not a goal threat if there's other goal threats.
Right.
But you can't have Nani, who's only scored tap-ins on freak plays recently, Jackson, who's not scoring,
He's dry. Yeah.
surrounding him. It just doesn't work.
Enzo. The goals dried up for Enzo. Not that I'm expecting him to score.
I don't know what the cause and
he was a
effect
contributor.
But
in that good run of form.
Today, when I was watching, I'm like, Cole is just really forcing some of these shots that I'm just. Part of it could be that. I also just think
Because he has to.
it's not going to help your teammates if you're going to be the one looking to do all these things all the time. No, I'm not.
How many
I'm
times
not,
have
you
I'm
watched
not
Sancho
disagreeing with
or
you. I think
Madueke
more of the
pass?
problem
You know
is
what
the
I mean?
structure. But I just think when your best player, and granted, that's what you want your best player to do, is I can take over the game. I can make a difference. But I think that when your best player is trying to do too much, that can prohibit other players from elevating themselves. But
Yeah.
again, I don't know what the cause and effect of it is.
Absolutely can. Yeah. I think I'm good on the West Ham game. We don't really need to do transfer talks. We already kind of talked about every team's transfer. I do want to talk about us too.
I was going to say, let's talk Chelsea, and then I'm just going to list off the teams, and we'll give them a grade.
Yeah.
For their window.
Yeah. So I mean, Felix leaving. DeSassi left on loan. Chilwell left on loan. Carney left on loan. What else am I missing, Dylan? We brought in a midfielder. We brought in a 15 million pound player. He's 19 years old, and he's at Saint Etienne. That's where we bought him from, who I believe are in Ligue 2. It might be in Liga. But we have Ugochukwu on the books. He's playing in this league. He plays that position. Okay, we don't want to bring him back, sure. Santos, who I think would be tougher to bring back, but he's one of the best midfielders in Liga. Like, those are two guys in that profile. And now, in the summer, all three of them are going to be Chelsea players. So you're starting to see the approach. It's frustrating, but the recruitment has been, we can flip him later if we need to, so we'll bring him in. And I think Felix sums it up. Obviously, we could talk on for another hour, 20 minutes about the transfers we've done. But I think Felix just sums it up perfectly, where they brought him in on loan, but then fired a coach. The new coach didn't want him, so he's out wherever he is for a year at Barca. New coach comes in again. We weren't going to bring him in, but then we ended up bringing him in because the other transfer from Atleti collapsed. We played homecoming for the transfer reveal. And then he is now out on loan, dry loan. He's back at the end of the year. He's playing at AC Milan. Clearly, it's just a gung-ho approach from this point. I can't defend the sporting directors anymore. They hit on Palmer. Palmer was a deadline day signing. Let's not act like they're like, oh, he's gonna turn this around. It was just another one, but they hit. Gusto, he was a hit. But there's clearly misses, and to just aimlessly be signing players when there's holes in the team, that's when it really gets frustrating. 2 years ago, when we were in 14th or whatever in January, oh, we're linked to a 16-year-old Brazilian. Sweet. We're pushing for Champions League spots this year. I do not want to be linked to another 16-year-old Brazilian until the holes in this team are filled. We needed to bring in midfield cover. I guess I'd say thankfully we did, but again, why did we buy another 19-year-old midfielder? If anything, bring in a more experienced one to complement the two other ones you have out on loan. I digress. I'm not a professional sporting director. Having one striker on the team, one senior striker, he almost got hurt today. He came off earlier than I think he would have because he's probably carrying some sort of injury. And then the 19-year-old throw-on gets hurt at the end. Now, we could very well end up with no fit strikers next week. I think both of them will be all right. Apparently, they're minor injuries. But it just sums everything up. It just sums everything up perfectly. You have no strikers available. We've spent so much money. How much of that money is going to be spent on teenagers from this point forward? Like, we are competing for Champions League spots. That's what we're doing right now. We've got enough youngsters. We've got more than enough youngsters. If you find a market opportunity, like we mentioned earlier, Jonathan David, I don't think he's the right profile for us, given what Jackson does. But again, something. Kolo Muani on loan? Fuck it, dude. You can cross to him. But yeah, just having holes in the team while also saying, oh, there's another fun little toy over there. He's got potential. We can flip him. It's frustrating. It is frustrating. I'd like that to be seen too. But that's my evaluation of where we're at right now in terms of the transfer approach, which is, yeah.
You guys had the same window as United. And we're in 15th. Or 13th. Sorry. Facundo's text fucked me up there. I guess to Facundo's earlier point, you guys live in La La Land.
You were
you guys
so
don't.
happy.
Money is not a concept.
Paradisation, bro. Hey,
Money is not a
contract.
concept.
Look at us.
Oh yeah, 2 years ago, bro.
Doesn't matter.
I said, we were so bad that I was like, oh, great, I'll bring in more guys.
But I also think
No,
you're
there
going
is an
to start
approach.
to
I just don't think
understand
it's
with
a
PSR
sustainable
soon.
approach.
And I think the reason you're buying all these young kids is so that you can sell them for however many millions of bucks so that you can generate profit. Is the only reason you're doing this.
Reason.
Is because you know eventually you're going to have to buy more, and in order to buy more, you have to sell. But you got to buy something that can help you now.
Yes.
But you can't do that in
That's
January.
my question is,
what I just said.
Why did they stop living in La La Land? There were players available. Watkins was available for 60, like you were saying. Duran was available for 80. Osimhen has been available. Gyökeres, if you put enough money on the table, they would have spent it. Chelsea live in La La Land. Why didn't they do what City did, which was just, fuck it, here's the purse. That's what I don't understand. It's like, Arsenal, don't spend money like that. Even Spurs fucking did it. Like, I don't, tell is kind of doesn't count, but like, they could have, what stopped them from spending money?
Nothing's stopping us from spending money.
That's what I'm saying. Like, City literally went like, this is the worst period we've ever had. Here's fucking 250 million. Chelsea live in that same world. Like, United don't live in that world. Arsenal don't live in that world. I don't think any other teams except for, like you were saying, City and Chelsea live in that world. So then why did they stop living in that world?
I think they're under a microscope.
I think they're genuinely scared to sign
I
an asset that they can't. It's possible. And they don't have a sponsor on their shirt. They're in the Conference League, so that can't help the financials. But I also think they're terrified to bring in an asset that they can't get rid of. They are so scared to be stuck with players that they will only bring in players that they know they can sell on. Like, again, when Nkunku signed, it was a pre-agreement. Graham Potter was our manager, right? And then we sacked him, brought in Lampard, then brought in Poch. So he came in before we even knew how we wanted to play, right? Like, okay, we bring in Potter, who's a tactical guy, right? We want to play with the ball. And then Pochettino, who's just a pace and power guy. Like, Nkunku was just brought in because it was an attractive name, right? So that's what the approach has been. At what point do you bring in people who understand where we are now and say, okay, there's a good mix of being able to scout for the future, be able to sign these players, loan them out, sell them on.
Who is your sporting director?
That's how we've operated, and that's how all we've done is sell. Win Stanley and Stewart, they're the two fucking dickheads. But I think, bro, just promote Joe Shields at this point. He's the one who brought in Palmer, Lavia. He knows all the good young players. Bro, just trust to him. But seriously, they don't have that idea of, oh, there's a Douglas Luiz on loan, for example. I'm not saying we should have brought him in, but a market opportunity to be able to take advantage of that, to fill a hole in the current team, that was never the idea, which is just crazy. Because is that not the whole point? Is not the whole point team success? But at no point, with all the names we were linked to in January, you didn't think, oh yeah, that's a right now signing. I think he's a good young player.
So what do you want? Not a right now. What is it that you need?
He's a 19-year-old who hasn't scored all year. What we needed in January was cover in the middle, which I guess we got. And I think 9. The problem you need another is that you spent over $100 million on 2 of them. You have one striker.
To then have to say you need cover, and to say that you need cover
for terrified of strikers.
The most expensive midfielders in the Prem.
Who else is there that's a striker?
Yeah.
No, they're good. They're playing every week. We're going to run them into the ground. Lavia can't play. He's hurt all the time. There's Dewsbury Hall, who again,
it's because
PSR reasons we bought him.
You spent $100 million on.
So what we have no midfield cover. The best 6 in the league. We talk about Caicedo. Caicedo was brilliant again today. Enzo was good today too. They were both really good today, but my point is there's no one else. If Caicedo gets hurt, we'd be lucky to finish 8th. That's how important he is to this team. And he plays every week. Plays every game. So at what point do we say maybe we could get some cover for him?
I guess the only issue that I have with that train of thought is he's playing every Prem game regardless. You guys are playing Conference League.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he's starting if he gets hurt, it's just like City. It's like, well, fuck, the season's scrapped. Yeah. It'd be like, we're
running him into the ground. He's played like every game, I swear, like the past
This is last season Arsenal. Like, Saliba got hurt, it was just fucked. Like, that's just the case. Like, you just live with injuries sometimes. The 9 is an issue because that's been an issue. Like, you knew you needed a forward, someone
You
that can
needed another
provide goals, and you guys just didn't do it.
Yeah, and I think Facundo, I get your point. I get where you're coming from a little more in terms of how could you spend all this money and not have cover. I think that
And
just goes straight
I've
back
been on
to the
this. I've
sporting
never
directors.
understood
Why are we
your
spending all
ownership
this
group
money on people who are
and
out on loan?
what you were
Over
doing.
here.
I think it's also like your owners are not familiar, or when they came in were not familiar with this league. And I think that, forget like copying an Arsenal project. They wanted to have a project that is entirely different to the identity of what Chelsea has been
They wanted a
since
project.
Roman.
Yes.
One, your fans struggle with that.
Yep.
But two, I think they continue to see project. And in the Prem, like, you can't just say, I'm going to have a 5-year project, and after every year, we're going to go and hit the market to then, fix the needs. Like, you've got to be able to evaluate as you go and then make certain changes and they're not,
They're not.
you're,
Those sporting directors,
but
I
I
think
also
they proved it this
think
January to get those morons out before
and
it's
this
too
is,
late.
I don't know, you can go back and forth, right? Because you have a coach that's just meant to coach. But I do think that that's when it's crucial to have a manager that's not afraid of giving an opinion of what he wants. Because at the end of the day, if you're going to pick all the talent and expect the coach to just put it together, like, you've got to be able to have some sort of cohesiveness where your manager can give an input. These are the areas that we need to address just based off training and performances, and then go and address them. I just think your owners or whatever want to make the decisions, and that's it.
Apparently, I think they do have a dialogue, like, that's been spoken about, but to your point, like, how much weight does his word hold in terms of him saying, I would like this profile, that? Are they really going to give a fuck, or are they just going to be playing their football manager save? You know what I mean? So it's interesting, but it is frustrating, the approach. It's at a certain point, like you're saying, at what point do we realize, okay, we're on the next step now. We don't have to just keep stockpiling 18-year-olds, loaning them out and selling them on. And now I get them coming into the team, coming into the ownership, seeing, oh, this team spent a lot. Because they sell a lot. Okay, so that's our model. We just got to sell to make our money, to be able to sustain our business. That's the way I'm assuming that they approached it. So I can understand how they've acted, but it's been a few years now. I'd like to think we get this all sort of situated.
I
But
think the coach can be doing the same thing. I think
I'm
that
not blaming
coach
the
can
owners.
also
I'm
do
blaming the
more
sporting
with
director.
what he's currently got. Because I think a lot of teams around the league would look at your forward players and be like, holy shit, what I would do to have those guys. So it's a little bit of both.
100%. I think Maresca in this bad run, I do not think he's the sole reason for it. I'm not saying Maresca out. I think there's definitely room for improvement from him, but I still think over the course of this season, I think he's shown more than enough that this is the guy we can put our faith in. He understands what needs to be done, but there's peaks and valleys in this process, as you would know. I'm just glad we're still somehow in fourth. It doesn't feel like it's deserved, to be honest with you guys, but we need to finish in the Champions League spots. Apparently, the rumblings I'm hearing was this year was not supposed to be the year we get Champions League. It was supposed to be next year. Goalposts can move. After the first 17 games, where we were a win away against Everton for going up, top of the league, again, we would have had they would have had 2 games in hand. But to be even near that position, you can't let it slip the way we have. I think not finishing in the Champions League spots would be. So that would be, I don't know, catastrophic's a bit too much, but I would not be very happy if that happened. They should expect to finish in the Champions League spots.
Yeah. All right, let's end this with like a rapid fire. We'll just go through the teams. We give them a grade. I don't want any explanation. Just give me your grade, and we'll just go like Grant will start, Facundo will go to you, and then I'll say mine, and then we'll go to the next team. Sound good? Alrighty, let's let's give a grade to these Premier League teams in their January window, starting with Liverpool.
Did they do anything?
No.
NA.
Yeah, I'll go because I didn't hear anything about the new guys. So NA.
There's nobody. I'll give it a C because they didn't need to do anything, but they could have gotten better. I mean, whatever. Arsenal.
You're first, Grant.
Oh, I'm first now?
Yeah, you're always first.
C.
Cool. D.
I'm going to go D+. Forest.
Did they bring
A+.
in
Keep on keeping on.
NA?
Ward-Prowse got recalled back to West Ham.
And I'm also going NA. Chelsea.
F.
C.
Yeah, I'll go C as well. City.
A+.
B.
I'll go B+. Villa.
A-
C. I
for
don't
the
think they're
entertainment.
special.
I'm going to give it a B.
Can I change it to a B+? I forgot it was to sassy.
B+. First for me. I'm just going to jump to the teams that actually did stuff that I can remember.
Sweet.
United.
D.
C.
D-. F.
It's a C- for me. Yeah. Spurs.
They addressed defense, but D.
I'm giving him an A+ for Tell. Because that's not a Spurs signing.
They didn't need a forward player though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
those are the only teams.
Oh, I know.
I don't care. They just don't. They suck. So they deserve to have some
Nobody cares.
happiness, guys. You guys both don't care about them, but I think they deserve some happiness.
Bro, DeSassi rejected personal terms with them. He wouldn't go to Spurs, bro. Do you know how funny that would have been?
It's crazy. Alrighty. Well, I'm good with this episode. Long one, but I thought we needed to have another long one since we had one short one, because that's how we do it. From the three of us, Mila dipped out early. Thank you guys for listening. This has been Clash of Clubs. This was episode 17 plus 10, and we will see you guys in the next one.
Words for him. Different gravy. Glorious goal! Wreathed in red. We're really seeing the most extraordinary finish here. On this day of days, has he delivered? Just magnificent! Potentially life-changing! That's football. Minute you let it under your skin, then you begin to make it better.